Welcome back to Behavior Shift. Today we're zooming in on a specific type of decision, and this is a decision type we call tricky decisions.
Yeah, right. So these are the choices that feel like you have to make them quick or that they're really easy in the moment, but they carry real weight. So one of my favorites is think about adopting a pet on impulse or saying yes to a stock tip from a good buddy or quitting your job after having a heated argument with your boss. Those are all tricky decisions.
That's right. These are fast to make decisions that have a large impact. And look back at episode 18 if you want to deep dive into actually categorizing out these decisions into the four types. We look over the decision quadrant, and that'll give you the introduction into tricky decisions to help you
Yeah.
understand this a little deeper.
Yeah. So the interesting piece is the fact that they are fast to make, that you can make them in a moment, but the impact is big, is what makes them tricky. So the other piece of this is that under pressure or under emotion or under stress, our brains typically default to system one thinking, that fast, intuitive, reactionary kind of thinking that we do. And that's fine for some choices, but when the stakes are high, it gets dangerous.
And that's because emotions in these situations can hijack your decision.
You see the cutest puppy online, and suddenly all rational questions about cost, care, time commitment just fly out the window. And I hit click. Here we go. Puppy's on the way, right?
I've seen it happen. So how do we handle tricky decisions when they pop up?
Yeah. So again, we talked about this in other episodes. Tricky decisions, the key is to slow down, to give yourself some breathing room and just give yourself enough time to slow system one down so that system two can step in. And there's a couple different tools that are tips that we often use and they work really good here. So the first is this breathing pause, right? So we use this idea of 2 breaths, 7 breaths. So we talked about this in other episodes as well, but again, this is to slow you down. So don't make a decision before you've done 2 breaths. And breaths are easy because, all right, we all do them. We do them all the time. So just make it kind of a habit to say, I'm not going to make a decision about eating that cookie or buying that puppy until I've made two breaths or even maybe 7 breaths, right? And so that just slows you down and gives you more space.
Okay. So basically breathe first and then decide second.
Don't breathe 2 times.
Mm, that's right.
And actually deep breaths like we just did are really, really good. And then the second plan is or the second tool, excuse me, is set up when then systems for yourself. These are simple heuristics that when you know you're going into a situation that might have a tricky type decision associated with it, you pre-commit before you're in that emotional state that I am going to do this when that happens, right? So, for many of us, and again, driving after having a few beers would be a tricky decision. It's an easy decision to make. You're not in your best emotional state, various different things, but you can make a when then statement. So it's like when I've had one beer, then I won't drive, right? Or um, make me think about it like the can't miss investment that your buddy's always telling you that you always kind of hop into or that you hear online, right? Okay, when I hear about a can't miss investment, I'm going to wait 24 hours before doing anything.
I've fallen for that one before. So what you're doing is you're outsourcing your emotional decisions, your tough choices to your calmer self.
Yeah, so in behavioral science, it's called hot state versus cold state. This idea that when we're in that hot emotional state, we don't want to be making those big decisions, right? And it's a way to keep future you from being blindsided by present you's emotions.
That makes a lot of sense. So a big takeaway here is that tricky decisions, they feel fast, but they have consequences that linger or could have long-term effects.
Yeah, and the move is simple, right? Take those 2 breaths, pause, breathe, and if you can, fall back on a pre-decided when-then plan. Those little guardrails can help you just make sure that you're not derailing your long-term plans because of, well, the emotional hot state that you're in.
Love it. That's Tricky Decisions Simplified. We will drop a link in the comments and the content below that gives you a free download to a decision quadrant tool that will help you categorize your decisions so you can understand if you're facing a tricky decision. We'll throw a QR code on the screen too if you want to download it there. Grab it. Super helpful. It'll help you navigate this a lot better.
Yeah.
Again, thank you for listening to Behavior Shift, and we'll see you soon.
Yeah, and remember, 2 breaths are always faster than a lifetime of regret.
Two, not one.
2. Why'd I do this podcast? Oh, man.